Welcome, everyone. I am your host, CIME, and today we got a special guest, Lieutenant Colonel, PhD guy, Dr. Juan Remy, and we're going to go today and talk about the authentic you and who you should be or who you really are. So let's go. Hey, welcome everyone. I'm your host again, Rashawn Warren, host of CIME. Today I got my battle with me, Juan Remy, aka Dr. Remy, aka Lieutenant Colonel Remy. Hey, welcome to the show today, man. Tell us about yourself.
So thank you for the opportunity to be on this show. And I'm just a guy who grew up, Haitian guy who grew up in Haiti with immigrant parents, got to the United States, went to high school, joined the military, was enlisted, went through OCS, became an officer. And now, after 25 years, I'm still in as a lieutenant colonel. And I'm always been who I am, and I will stay who I am. And that's why I liked this show, and I volunteered to be on that show with you, man. No problem.
Yeah, man, the authentic you, when I think of authenticity, I think about you, Juan. And I'll tell you, we had a conversation before the show started, and you shared an interesting perspective with me, which kind of like really made me think about me. Because I kind of talked to you about how we were kind of like the same person, but then you mentioned about how I am from America, you're from Haiti, and Jamaica. You experience all these different things, but people still kind of see us see us as the same. But what you said is, I'm not like you. You're not like me, but we kind of end up on the same path. So can you break down that story a little bit more, which we talked about before we started?
Yeah. So what I meant was people always say we are the same. That's why we kind of be the same. However, what I meant was me and you, we are the same while not being the same because we grow up differently. We went through different things in life. However, being different give us the same perspective. So when people meet me and you, they think that we are the same, but what they should say is they are the same. They have the same perspective of life, but they are not the same because the food you like, I might don't like it. What you drink, I might not drink it. However, when we sit down, we might see life the same way. So I think the misconception by people say, "Oh, these two person are the same." They be like, "Oh, so they like the same music, they like the same car, they like the same thing." It's not true. You can have the same perspective in life while not being the same as the person. And that's how I see me and you. We are the same because we have the same perspective in life while we went through different things that makes our perspective the same. And that's what
Totally.
I meant by that.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Thanks for the breakdown. And also you had your book. Could you show us your book that you have? Because I never seen this book before, but now I'm throwing plugs out there. Now I gotta go get this book. But show us the book you got.
This is like my Bible, but 4 months ago, I got this book. It's the 100 essay that will change the way you think by Brianna Wist. And that book, with simple essays that you can read every day, you can internalize things. For example, I did not know that love, you would rather somebody say they love you and hate you rather than they say I don't care. Because love and hate come from the same place. And when somebody don't care, that's when you need to be worried about. Like your spouse. Your spouse can say, I love you, but love the fact that she said, I hate you, because it comes from the same way. However, when she get to the point when she doesn't care, that's when you have problem. So that book, when I went through it, it's my Bible. I go refer to it because it keeps me with the topic of authenticity, stuff that I thought that were right, but after I went through the book and I internalized it, it makes me realize, man, my own opinion of what I thought that was authentic is not. So I had to go and do my own soul searching, getting to my own awareness, get rid of my comfort zone, and achieve what we call intentional living. Like, I decide to live the way I am, not it just happened to be. That's when intentional living happened. So those are the three things from that book I actually got. And it's every day. If I'm doing something, I got to make sure that I'm on track. I just pick up the book and reread one chapter, read another chapter, and it just keep me going. It was one of those revelation books that I read 4 months ago, and it's changing my life, continuously changing my life.
Oh man, thanks for sharing that stuff. Hey, what a way to bring it in. I'm like pumped already. Hey, we're gonna go to a quick commercial break, Dr. Remy, and then we're gonna come back in, and I want you to tell the audience a little bit about who you are and tell us your story about how you get here. So let's go to commercial break and we'll be right back.
Focus up. Hey man, zoom in. Hey. Welcome. My name is Chris Rubio of the Rubio Method. Soak it in. Wear it as a nice sweatshirt, a nice yellow sweatshirt. See if it fits. And it may be something you say, okay, I'm listening to you, but I don't really like it. Not for me. What the hell are you thinking? You have no idea what you're talking about. You have issues because of your bad taste.
All right, we're back. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining us again. I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Rashawn Warren, the host, and we got Dr. Remy with us today. So what we're about to do right now, we're going to unpack the concept of authenticity, right? So as we get started, before we go into this journey, Remy, could you just tell us your story?
So I think my story, it will take a lot of time, but simply put, my story is a guy who was given an opportunity from my parents, from my dad, to get to the United States. When I got to the United States, what I was expecting from where I came from was what I saw, and therefore it wasn't what I wanted. So therefore, since I didn't want me to be part of something that wasn't authentic, so the first thing I did was looking for what can allow me to be who I am. Since I am a person that want order, plan, see the future, achieve goals and objective, the only place I saw was the United States military. And then I joined the military. And then when I went to basic training, while everybody had breakdown and was a change of life for them, for me, it was just another day on the street of Haiti. It was just, hey, man, you got to go through it, do your thing, and you're going to graduate. I remember I even told my drill sergeant, hey, you don't need to yell or scream. I'm going to do what I need to be done to graduate. So you can yell to all the other kids to motivate them to whatever. I told them, I know what I'm here for, and I'm going to graduate. So you don't have to worry about me. You don't have to yell. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, Remy, do your thing. You don't bother me, I won't bother you. And I had a great time in basic training. When people will give you those horrible story about basic training, for me, it was another day in my life, like in Haiti. Then I went through all that. I went to OCS. The first day in Iraq, when I spent 15 months in Iraq, people thought it was a life-changing somewhere for me. But while in Iraq, I can sympathize so easily with the Iraqi there. I spent 15 months in Iraq with no really change in my perspective of life, because I saw the Iraqi guy, I saw them as the Haitian guy. Because at one point, the United States military was about to invade Haiti, and I was ready to, fight the invaders. So now I was myself invade Iraq. I was an invader, so I could actually see myself back to the Iraqi that in their own country that saw me as an invader when I was in the reverse part of the life before that. So my story is very simple. Throughout my whole entire career or my life in the United States Army or in America, I spent most of my time actually in Europe in the military. But the challenge for me was never being a challenge, because what I see as challenge is normal life to me from what I grew up in Haiti. Like, if life is too easy, it is not normal for me. I will go find a challenge. Like, I cannot just sit and let life happen to me. I want me to live life, not to let life live me. And that's my story. My story is go after it, know what you got to do, know already that nothing's going to be easy. Don't go for the easy. I always said, if 4 people are doing something, I'm not doing it. I'm going to do something different. That's how I see it. I don't want to be following the crowd. I don't do that. I don't follow the crowd.
And that's why authenticity is indicative of who you are. Your perspective is different. And I mean, just hearing your story just now just kind of like made me think about you a little bit different than what I already knew about you, because your perspective on life, everyone's perspective is different, but your perspective is outside of the American experience initially. And so you were on the outside looking in, and then bam, you were on the inside looking out.
Yes.
And you have something that majority of us here do not have, and majority of in the military do not have. So with all that said, and talking about your perspective, like, what exactly does authenticity mean to you personally?
So for me, when I look at the word authenticity, is, if I look at it, for me, is being who you are. However, before you achieve authenticity, right, you have to know what you're looking for. So for example, I'm going to use analogy. You're looking for a nice gold ring, right? How would you know it's gold? First, you got to find out how to test it and figure out when it's gold or not. Because anybody can look at a gold-plated ring and be like, it's gold, right? Mm-hmm. But the authenticity, a part of it, is when you know how to figure out if it is real gold, right? So your life, my life, the way I see it is, people going to see the plated part of it. But it's my job to figure out how to see and find real gold in my life to make it valuable. Authenticity becomes with value. And if you cannot have that value from yourself, your authenticity will be misleading to you and to other people, because you'll be changing faces, right? Because you will think, oh, I'm authentic wherever I'm at. Like people always say, when in Rome, do as the Roman, right? But you're like, if I do that, what about if the Roman are doing something that I don't want to do? Mm-hmm. Oh, they're going to look at you as an outsider, right? But that's when you should be, I will do as the Roman does when it doesn't impede my authenticity. Other than that, I will be a stranger in Rome. You have to be comfortable to be the stranger in Rome rather than become a Roman when you're not a Roman. Right? That's authenticity for me, means being who you are. However, you have to go and look for who you are, because sometimes who you think you are, and then you go through certain experience, you have certain experience in a lot of your life, and you're like, that's not who I am. Wow. Now you just find out another one. So authenticity is go through the inner self and find the value of what is authenticity, authentic to you.
Yes, there's so much value in being yourself, right?
Yes.
So I wake up in the morning and I'm not good at being other people, so I would never try to be someone else, right? But like I would tell others is that sometimes inside of here, I will always do stuff like this, right? Sometimes inside of here, my mind, we imagine these things and we start to shape ourselves based off of our external view of ourselves. When I say external view of ourselves, I'm meaning like what we see every day, everything that's going on around us. Most people are searching for acceptance. They want to be part of the team. They want others to bring them into the fold. They kind of want to be like everybody else, right? And they're not confident in who they are. So whoever they are, as far as it pertains to authenticity, they don't want to accept it. I had a quote one time that said, hey, the world would say, be who you want to be. But when you start to be that, the world would say, no, not like that. That's acceptable, right? And a lot of people find themselves coming back into being what others want them to be or what the organization wants them to be. So can you share a specific moment where you felt like you were truly being yourself? Like you were 100%, this is who I am, and people either accepted it or didn't.
So on that note, before I tell you when one of the occasion where who I am will be always, I will let people know who I am, was first thing I have to talk about is Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. People do not understand that you can become a slave just by mentally. Mentally, you can slave yourself to something and you never realize that. Because that thing now, whatever you slave yourself to, guides your life, right? So when you emancipate yourself from any mental slavery, it could be your spouse, it could be your kids, it could be your job, it could be your profession, it could be one person, could be a car. You can mentally slave yourself to something, and it's not getting you where you want to be, right? So I think for me, the day that I woke up, a good example of I'm not going to change myself is throughout our professions, people always want us to be politically correct, right? And they tell us always those are the unwritten rules of our professions. And I'm like, you know what? Unwritten rules, if I cannot read it, then it doesn't exist. So I'm not going to think something that doesn't exist and a bunch of people just made it what it is. So therefore, I'm going to live by it. I'm not going to mental slave myself to nothing. So therefore, in our profession as a military officer, all I told myself was, people are going to like me, people are going to dislike me. Subordinate, peers, and seniors alike. But you know what? I will progress to my career by being authentic. And if not progressing means I'm not progressing, don't mean that I'm not authentic. It's just not progressing means I don't fit that progress. So therefore I can move somewhere else and continue progress. Because like you said, we're going to move to the rank. If at one point we got to be sitting at the table and somehow if we don't agree with the rest of the table, we're not part of the team, right? That's what
Yeah.
they always think. We're not part of the team. So therefore, you become the outsider. And for me to progress, if it means to just say I'm part of the team, I will rather not be part of a team and not being myself rather than just for the sake of progression. However, I can move to another part, go to another room on a different table, and people are like, oh, he needs to progress because he's being himself and it won't matter. And that's another question we're going to talk about later, I think, is sometimes being authentic means leave what you think is authentic. It means find out what is the other part that you're missing of the equation that you think you are authentic. Because
Oh yeah.
we will talk about how you can actually see yourself to actually get the real authenticity of who you are, because there's a lot of fallacies people actually have in self fallacies of your own thinking that can make you see yourself differently. And you say, oh, I'm authentic, but it's a fake authenticity because it's not the real one. And I think we're going to talk about that. But I think our profession is one place that I constantly struggle of, hey, man, we're not doing this today. Okay, then don't do it, but I'm doing it. Or, hey, man, we're going to go do this. No, I don't like doing that, so I'm not doing it. So if 13 people doing something, like, for example, playing golf, and I'm the only officer is like, I don't like golf. I'm not playing it. And everybody be like, well, we are 14. How come you're not here playing golf? I'm like, if I'm with you, you're not going to get the real me while playing golf. So you don't want to have the fake me. And I don't want to give you the fake me either. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I will enjoy something else. That's simple. You know?
Yeah, we say in the thing, as you see at the top of the screen, it says, see yourself and be yourself. Like, you're absolutely right. You got to know who you are. You got to see who you are. And then you just got to be that, right? And you can't let other people push you into the uncomfortable space and then seemingly ostracize you because you chose to be yourself, right? So, Remy, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to delve back in, and we're going to talk about societal expectations once we get back. So off to commercial break we go.
Hey, it's AC of AC Sports Live, an interactive sports talk show where your comments are part of the show. Every show we focus on the sports stories of today with commentary on sports takes, my 2 cents, which is a reaction to my social media feed, Sports Flicks, where we take a look at sports movies and give a quick review. We have a segment called Mental Reps, where we have words of inspiration to help battle the dark side of men's mental health. And then there's the Tender Love Report. Who's being soft or petty in the world of sports? All takes are welcome under one condition. Say it with your chest. I'll see you there.
All right, so we're back, right? So, one of the things that you just kind of talked about is like, hey, you do not want to give people the fake you. You're unwilling to not to be something that you are not, and at any cost. But everyone's not okay with that, right? They're like, oh, this guy's doing his own thing. He's going down his own path. Absolutely correct. I'm going down the path that I want to go down. That's innate to me because this is my life. I had a conversation with some folks once about organizational perspective, right? The organization has its values. The organization has its vision. The organization has its mission. An organization has this construct of things in which it wants everyone within it to operate within. But the organization has to also understand I am me. Whoever I am, I brought who I am to the team. Like, team, together, everyone achieves more. There is a conglomerate of people who've come together with different views, different insight in order to make the team better. You don't want a team of everyone who's the same. But what also comes with that is that, can you really be who you want to be within your team? When I was in college playing ball, everybody could be whoever they were, as long as you embrace the vision and the goals that we all agreed upon. If I wanted to go out and hang out at the club, I'll go hang out at the club. But I had a teammate that didn't drink. He didn't go drink. So we all understood that. I like to go to the park and hoop. The other guys like to go to the bowling alley. Not dragging them to the bowling alley, because I'm not going to the bowling alley. I'm going to the park and hoop, because that's what I want to do. So throwing all those things into the mix, I want to ask you, like, what challenges do you feel others commonly face when embracing their authentic selves, when they trying to stay true to who they are and not move with the masses?
So I'm glad you say that, because my field of study for my doctorate, and I think for the rest of my life, my field of study is, people always look at culture, right? It's a big thing. People always talk about culture. They see you and they talk about culture. But me, like I said, culture is probably, people will say authentic, right? Authenticity involving the culture, who you are. However, my field of study is about cross-cultural dimensions. There are dimensions in culture that people do not understand, why it is very important to the granular level that makes who you are. For example, Rashawn, I will ask you, you grew up in America. You grew up in what we will say from research, that is, evidence shows that America is an individualistic society, where it's the I. Like, you need to excel. You need to do things for yourself. You need to get a great family. So it's about I, the you, right? And if somebody, for example, the opposite will be a country like China, who's collectivistic. They are about the group. They will not do things that endanger the group, their family, their name of their family, or something like that. Or they will postpone their life to take care of family or certain things, right? People don't understand that these things contribute on authenticity also, if we're talking about that. For example, masculinity, football in America. There is football players that grow up with nothing but sisters, right? They don't have no brothers. So therefore, when they're on the field and we use in certain language or something, and one of the football players, that actually happened during my research, one of the teacher or coach told me that, and he had a player that didn't partake in what was going on with the football team off the field. And then he thought, he's an outsider. He wasn't participating. And what he came to find out was the stuff that the team were doing were most of the time not aligned with his view of female. So he was a feminist. So one of the things society will tell you, if you're a football player, aggressive and this, you're masculine. You're masculine. You on the spectrum of men. Everything you do is masculinity. But what about a guy who's a feminist football player, right? What about a guy like me who moves from Haiti, now live most of my life in America, individualistic country, but I'm a collectivist. I will give up some of my pay if the government want it. I will give up some of my pay to give free healthcare to people who need it. I will get paid less to allow other people to have healthcare in our country. I will do it. But not everybody will do that, because the country itself don't teach you that, because they teach you of, you gotta go to college, you gonna get debt, you gotta pay it off, you gotta succeed at all costs. And some people don't understand that societal dimension itself in the culture drive your authenticity. And if you don't know the difference, it's gonna confuse. For example, especially America is a melting pot, right, of cultural diversity. That's what we said. But we never look inside of the cultures, what exists. And those dimensions we talk about, cross-cultural dimension, which is the 6 cross-cultural dimension from Gert Hofstede research, they really matter. That makes you look at people on the self rather than on the group. What the group is doing, right? America is an individualistic country, so everybody in America should be individualistic to survive, to live, right? But not really. What about the collectivist person in America? Are we saying that he needs to move away and become a citizen of another different country or in a different society? No, he's going to live in America. And that person will wake up every day with the individualistic pressure every single day. Like you just said, right? The team, the organization has a culture. But did we ever go to that organization and each team of that organization and see what's the culture of those teams? So that's where you go to the dimension of the bigger culture of the organization. You reduce it to the dimension, the small dimension that matters to people that wakes up every day and come to the organization. And fascinating that those things can be more important than just the overall, oh, what's the culture? Black. So what about somebody who doesn't align with what you say as Black culture and he doesn't align to it? So who is he? You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, that goes back to understanding who's on your team.
Yes.
You know, every organization I have been in, there's a different group of people. When I say a different group of people, meaning I'm not moving from one location with everybody I worked with to the next location, right?
Yes.
So you show up, it's a bunch of different team members. Everyone came from somewhere else and had a different experience. Everyone kind of grew up a little bit different. True. Some may share some of the same cultural, societal experiences, but there are certain things that people will do, some certain things people will not do, and certain things that people will not tolerate. Like I told in an earlier show, I'm just not going to be around people who I think are bad people. If I think you're a bad person, nothing you can tell me is going to make me want to be around you when I don't have to be around you. But some people will say, he a good dude. I'm like, okay, like you think so? You made the choice to be around that individual. And I'm perfectly okay, you know, with kind of whether somebody wants to be around me, whether somebody does not want to be around me because of who I am. I'm like 100% satisfied with who I am, and you have to be 100% satisfied with who you are. And that kind of ties us into you unpacked a bunch of stuff right then, right? And it kind of ties into the cultural and generational factors that impact authenticity. You know, so like different culture, I would say from you growing up in Haiti to me growing up in the US. Culturally, totally different. I can't imagine what you've seen and how you grew up. But as you leapfrog, meaning as you went from Haiti to US, how did that cultural tie into generational affect your authenticity?
Okay, so first thing first, I will tell you, culturally, I would never be in the military. Like, because culturally, for my generation, my family, I should have been a doctor, MD, medical doctor, right? Or a lawyer, which my first declaration for degree in college was law, right? And then I was like, after the first semester, I was like, no, this is not me. Pressure from family, generational. I was teaching at West Point and I see it. I heard it. People saying, I'm here, because my family came here. So if I don't come here, I'd be the only one who doesn't graduate from here, right? Culturally, like you said, you grew up in the United States. I grew up in Haiti, and then I came to the United States. But when we meet somebody in the United States, they're going to think we African-American automatically. But there's a big difference between being Black and being African-American. But people are never going to see that. And that's what we were talking about, the cultural dimension, the dimension in culture itself, because people will tell you there's a African American culture, right? Like but you would be like, yeah, not everybody who's Black in America is African American. They see it differently. But society, people who see you will be like, oh, the two Black guys, right? That's how they gotta say, because they see the color, they see the race, but not the culture, right? And people confuse most of the time those things. I will say culturally, if you talk to Haitian, I do a lot of stuff that I know that makes me Haitian. That is Haitian culturally. But if you talk to a Haitian that knows me, they will say, well, he doesn't do most of the things like Haitian. And you'll be like, well, that means I'm not Haitian, but I was born in Haiti. So there is a difference between being in a culture, part of a culture, what really is accepted culturally, and who you are authentically. Like there's certain things that I will never do that other Haitians think it's normal to do.
Mhm.
I will not do it. And or right now in America, there are certain things that in the military that I think people think it is okay to do, but for me, it's no. We need to know the difference. Like I wrote a paper, I published a paper on. There's a thin line between motivation and coercion. Like when do you know you're not coerce somebody by motivating them? And if you ask most leader in the military, they will tiptoe in around the difference between am I motivating the person or am I coercing them right now? And the thin line between it is what's the objective of you're motivating them for, right? If you're motivating somebody for themselves, like see yourself, be yourself, you are motivating them. But when I'm motivating them to see yourself and be something for me, that's coercing. Because now the end result has to benefit me rather than the end result should benefit you. Like
So
we military, for example, a good example will be the way we do physical training, right? If I'm motivating my group to run 4 miles under 9 minutes, 9-minute mile, right? The person that doesn't do it, we see that they failing because we put a standard. So if I'm motivating the person and the person said, I don't want to run, a 10-minute mile is good enough for me. And that's how I feel. And that's who I am. And I'm okay with that, right? But then we will ostracize them and say, hey, you're not being something for me. So my platoon can have a 9-minute average, right? Now you become a problem to my goals. So therefore, when I'm motivating you, it's actually for the end result for my team, for me to get the credit, not for you to become better. And there's a thin line between those two things among us leaders in our military when I published that paper. So again, culturally, you might think I'm motivating people because the culture of our organization say you need to motivate people every day. But then if you don't know the difference between motivating and coercing people, you might be coercing people all day and you think you're motivating them. And at the end of the day, they're like, this guy is not motivating me because if I do this, it's for him. It's not for me.
I heard this thing once when I was a young leader. This senior leader told me, Rashawn, you can do two things. You can either inspire people or you can manipulate people.
Yes.
And when that was said to me, I thought, okay, what does that truly mean? And it kind of talked into what you're talking about right now. I'm waking up every day because I want everyone to improve. I know that everyone is not on the same level as I am, especially from a physical capacity. Even from a mental capacity, some people are just not there, but we're expecting that thing from them that we expect from that person who's elevated their ideal of thought or elevated their comprehension in things that they deal with. And we have the tendency to say, that person over there ain't getting it, and kind of not push them to the side. But if you're not a good leader, you will probably do that. You'll probably be like, I can't depend on this thing, and I'm gonna start giving it to this guy over here without even thinking about, hey, there's a deficiency within that individual, a lack of learning, and we need to help assist that person on the way. So my mind is, I want to inspire people, but I can only inspire people from the good things that Rashawn has garnered throughout his career. And I only recognize the bad things that I've experienced, because outside of that, really can't teach things you don't know, right?
No.
But when I started thinking about that's who I am as an authentic person, like you talked about your cultural understanding of things, and then you say, hey, as a Haitian, we don't do that. But that's the good thing about being a great leader also, right? So when as a youngster, somebody said, I only see green. I'm like, no, you're wrong, my guy. And the reason why you're wrong is because we're all made up of different things. And if you cannot acknowledge everyone that's different, how can you treat us all with respect? Because all of us have a different thing that we bring, and all of us inherently grew up in a different environment. Hey, I know we're running deep right now. Well, let's go to a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come right back in and then go into the final segment.
Hi, Joel Maurer, founder of Dink Ninjas. Dink Ninjas was dreamed up and started right here in Austin, Texas, a dynamic pickleball community. We arm pickleballers with the paddles, apparel, and accessories to dink like a ninja. Dink Ninjas is dedicated to supporting mental health awareness and cancer research. Shop our full lineup at dinkninjas.com.
All right, so we're back with Dr. Remy. So Remy, how can individuals overcome fear or a societal judgment when expressing their true selves?
Okay, so for me, when I said when I think about overcoming anything that's gonna jeopardize my authenticity, there is a theory about the self, right? First, we need to look in the mirror to tell us what we see of ourselves. Understand what we see ourselves through a mirror, right? But then you have to move away from the mirror, put yourself in the window, and ask somebody, what do they see through this window? Do they see the same thing I was seeing in the mirror? How do they see it, right? And then the third part is, now you got to find an expert. You got to get an expert opinion, because, for example, if I said dressing, I'm going to dress, right? I put clothes on. I'm like, oh, I look good. Does color match? And then you will go to the window and somebody's like, nah, those two colors don't match. You might want a different tones, right? And you're like, okay. So I think this color or green, the whatever color match I'm got good, but they think like, oh, I might tone it down. Now you probably need to go to a fashion expert, somebody that has the background reputation, and you say, hey, what do you think? Get the expert opinion, and then now you can sit down. Out of those three, you figure out, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, I like this color. However, I know the other sides of my opinion. I know what comes with it. So authenticity means also not only for you to see and be yourself, you have to understand how people see you and how people think you are, right? Because then you got to use that approach to be like, Am I sending the wrong signal? Maybe I want to be authentic, but the way I'm approaching it is not what I want to send. For example, the color I choose to wear might not be summer clothes. They might be winter. You talk to fashion person and be like, these are winter color. They make people, their mood goes down. However, if we were summer, you wear summer color, you elevate people, you happy, people see you like, oh yeah, right? So you have to use the mirror, the window, and the expert opinion. And those expert most of the time is, for me, it's mental health clinician. You know what? Just go sit down, talk to someone that has expertise and have a conversation with them. Just think. Like, I'm seeing a therapist, and every time we sit down and we talk, it's not because I have a mental problem or anything. We just sit down and talk. And sometimes her expertise on how she sees things, what she knows, open my mind, be like, oh man, I want it to be authentic, but that's not the signal I'm sending. I want to be a good guy, but everything I do is bad guy, right? So I have to learn why people see all these signals as bad guy when the signal I want to send is good guy signals. Second thing is, I think people need to understand generalization and individualization, right? Most people understand things like, if I said Ford made goods car, that's a generalization. But if I say, hey, you know what? I was driving at Ford Escort, and my Escort 2012 never gave me a problem. Now I went to the individualization, right? But most of the time when you talk to people, they will just generalize things. Everything they do is generalize. You can watch out when you talk to people. Most people generalize things they say. They do not individualize it, because if they can't, they will not be able to see you either. They will generalize you too. They will see you as the tall black guy, muscular, that's in the military with rank, right? But they're never gonna be like, who's Rashawn, who was born from a single parent, went through this, have a spouse that went through certain things, and who makes Rashawn? That's individualizing thing. And in our organization, and most organizations, they generalize you, because the team become a generalization of the people in it. They never go and figure out how she feels today. They will be like, how your teams feel today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, oh, my team feels great, but there's only one person who feels great in the team, because we never go and actually be like, okay, today, let me get everybody how they're feeling and be like, oh, this is how my teams feel today. Because when we go to our office, we assume, we generalize it again, that, hey, if somebody show up to work, they must have a good day. And we do that unconsciously. Subconsciously, we do it too. And it's like, you go back to, we forget the authenticity of those people. They are authentic. Get to them. Get to that person. It takes time, yes. Some people will tell you, I don't have time to know everybody in my organization, blah, blah, blah. And it'd be like, okay, then guess what? You're going to keep generalizing people, and you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah, that's, you know,
well, you will get what you want, but you're not going to get what they want.
Yeah, what you just said when you mentioned everyone came to work, everyone seems to be doing fine, so we're just gonna generalize everyone and say today's a good day, right? But what you said was that I go to every single person and ask them how they're doing, and then from all of that, from the individual perspective, say, you know what, as a whole, my team is doing well, but I got a few people that are struggling.
Yes.
Because if you have a few people that are struggling on your team, that doesn't mean your team's at risk, but that means that an important part of your organization, which is each individual makes up your organization, can potentially not do well, potentially fail because we didn't give attention to someone. Or you're saying and also you're talking about being your authentic self and authenticity, and you're like, well, you know what? I go to see this person because I want to understand why am I being viewed like this when I'm trying to be viewed like that. But how many people on the outside, even know that about Dr. Remy and saying that, hey, you know what, I'm seeking help because I want to become the best version of myself, not seeking help because something is wrong with me. I'm seeking help because I'm trying to improve the stature of who I am and raise my ability to give to everyone else. Oh man, that's like, golly, that's super powerful. But with that being said, like what advice would you give to others, navigating the path of living authentically? What advice would you have for people?
I mean, the advice I will say, first, use the mirror to learn yourself, right? Try new approach to learn about yourself. If I keep going to basketball game and think I'm a basketball fan, but I never went to any other sports, I will never know what other fan I am. So venture out, learn more than what you want, because your authenticity can be narrow-minded, and then you become mentally slave to those things, right? Because I watch basketball all day, every day. I know everything about basketball, so I say authentically, I'm a basketball fan. And then one day, if you take yourself and you go to a football game and you're like, whoa, I like that too. Mm-hmm. Now you start making half day in basketball, half football, and now you'll be like seeing more yourself. So first thing is use the mirror, but use different approach. You basically use different mirror to show you different things from yourself. Second, yes, I will say is in this book that we just said, page 84 in this book says, hunger is important. Complete fulfillment is the fast track to complacency. You know how people say I'm fulfilled? When the day you say you're fulfilled, that means you become complacent, right? And it says people don't thrive when they are fulfilled. They stagnate. So if we're talking about authenticity with those words is, if you're gonna just stagnate and just use one mirror and you be like, oh, this is my reflection, right? But you never get the perspective or use different approach and get an expert opinion and formulate then who you are, you probably getting a narrow-minded authenticity, which is not real authenticity then, because the word authenticity itself is being authentic. So therefore you're not. So most of the time people think that they are authentic and they are not. That's the fallacy in our own thinking. We think that I am authentic, but I didn't use all the tools to get me to know who I am properly and know what is authentic about me. Right? Like, I will say narcissism, for example. So narcissist, Steve Jobs is the best example of narcissist leader in America, right? He's being taught in business schools, but he's a narcissist. So if we look at it, connotation, narcissist, bad, right? But Steve Jobs, Apple, great. So now if you want to be a leader, are you just gonna want to be a narcissist to get better? Or you're gonna go look and be like, hey, what are the good things that by being a narcissist, he did good things. By using a narcissistic way, he did different approach. I can use those while not being fully narcissistic to achieve the same thing, right? So I take different approach from different thing to know who I am. Because most of the time people be like, yes, I'm not a liar. But you be like, have you lied one time in your life? Yes, so you are a liar, right? So people will say, most of the time, I don't do this. I'm not racist. But you'd be like, if I put you in a room and you only have your race there and you have to make a decision, is that makes you racist? No, it's just human nature. So people do not understand how to take things, how to use the right tools to reach authenticity, because they think authenticity is through their eyes, their own eyes only, which is not. That's where you have the mirror, window, and expert to give you authenticity. For example, I see that ring. There's no price on it. Somebody say it's gold. I have to go to expert to make them test it, tell me how much it's worth. When they tell me how much it's worth, am I going to just take their word and be like, oh, this worth this amount? No, I'm going to use a different tools to see, hey, where this ring come from? What year is it? Antique. If you want, antique is the best way to talk about authenticity for people. Things are antique, but not everything has the same value. But it's the way you approach it to create that authenticity to it that gives it value. Right? So think of yourself as I will tell people, think yourself as an antique. Go to the different approach to find out exactly what's the value and what is your authenticity within yourself. Because if you just see it through yourself, you might be wrong. You might be wrong. You got to use the mirror, window, and an expert opinion to get to the real self. Because other than that, you're just gonna make non-educated guess about yourself.
Well, Remy, hey man, you dropping some bombs right now. That's super awesome. But unfortunately, we got to bring it to the end. But before I let you go, how do people reach you? Like if somebody wanted to get a hold of Dr. Remy, how would they get a hold of you?
My personal email is remy625@yahoo.com. I publish my dissertation. I publish different papers. If you go to LinkedIn, Dr. Juan Remy, you'll find me on LinkedIn. I think I might be the only one.
All right. Well, Remy, thank you for, Dr. Remy, thank you for being part of CIM Me today. Really appreciate the insight that you share with everyone today. Everyone out there looking, watching, listening, gaining insight. Hey, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next episode. We out.
Thank you.
Listen.